George and his friend Jane buy copies of the same book on the internet. George pays $16.95 and Jane pays £11.99 on a day when the exchange rate is a dollar is equal to 0.626 pounds. And so the question is, how much more does Jane pay than George? So we're given a little bit of information that Jane does pay more than George, which is useful information. Obviously, they're paying in different currencies, and the only way we can compare is to convert one of those currencies to the other one. Right, and so which one do we convert? And well, the answer tells us, so the question tells us to calculate in dollars, so we're going to convert the pounds to dollars. When we're doing currency conversion, it can get a little tricky. Do you divide by the exchange rate or do you multiply by the exchange rate? I find that the easiest way to make sure you don't make a mistake is to consider that it's just a ratio of dollars to pounds. And in this case, it's $1 is equivalent to, and that's our ratio, 0.626. And we're trying to work out what 11.99 pounds is going to convert to. And so whenever you're working with ratios, the only thing you can do is multiply. Of course, you can multiply by fractions. And so whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. And so the question becomes, what do I do to change 0.626 to 11.99? And whenever you see something like that and it's a multiplication, you can say, well, if I just divide by 0.626, I'm going to get 1, right? Anything divided by itself is 1. And then if I multiply by 11.99, then I'm going to end up where I wanted to, because 1 times 11.99 is itself, which is 11.99. So we create a fraction here, which is just what I'm going to, 11.99, divided by what I'm coming from, which is 0.626, and that's my multiplier. And then I go to the other side, and I'm going to multiply 1 by the same thing. And of course, 1 times anything is just itself. So effectively what I'm working out here is, what is 11.99 divided by 0.626? And of course, you could have shortcutted all of that by saying, on this exchange rate, we do a division, not a multiplication. I like ratios, they help us solve things. So we punch that into a calculator and we get 19.15, so $19.15. Now, to work out how much more Jane paid, first of all, did she pay more than George? Yes, 19 is more than 16. So she did pay more. Let's work out how much more she paid by subtracting 16.95 from 19.15, and we'll end up with $2.20. And so to wrap the question up really nicely, we would write Jane paid $2.20 more than George.